So since we are in between breeding seasons, we have about 10 weeks before we set everybody up to breed again in the spring. Now is an excellent time to do maintenance care on the flock. So this is going to be different for every flock depending on their living situation and where you got your flock from and what their medical history is. But for me at this time, there's pretty much only two things I need to do that are parasite control. The first thing is I get all my medications from here, allbirdproducts.com. You can look them up online. They deliver very quickly. Very nice. Never follow the directions on the bottle. If you look through my past videos, it'll tell you how to use stuff. So my cages used to have bare bottoms, so they were exposed to the ground and the dirt, which they very happily played in and nibbled at. So that meant I had to worm them on a regular basis. So I used this on them quarterly. We now have wooden bottoms on our cages, and my plan is to start treating them twice a year instead of quarterly, because I don't think we're going to have to deal with it nearly so much. And there may come a time when I'll stop doing it altogether, depending on how things go. But for right now, they've only been in these cages without the dirt bottoms for a few weeks, so we definitely need to get wormed right now. But I think after that, we may not have to work so hard to keep them worm-free. So they'll be getting, some of them will be getting Worm-X today. Others are already getting treated with, oh, you can't see on that one, air sac mite eliminator. I have some birds with a history of air sac mites, and I'm still working to clear them and keep my entire flock clear in the process. What I found is a bird that if I picked up a bird that had air sac mites, a long-term infection, they're pretty much incurable, but this stuff can hold them in check. But what happens is, of course, they're in my flock. I don't want them to spread it to all of my other birds. So what I have to do is I treat them quarterly, and that seems to keep all my other birds from getting any kind of a serious case. Air sac mites, unlike what you would think, do not live just in the bird's air sacs. They start out in their nares of their nostrils and their sinuses. They go into their throats and their lungs. And eventually find their way to their air sacs. But once the mites get into the air sacs, it becomes really hard to clear the infection, because this stuff and every other medication to kill air sac mites works through the bloodstream, and the air sacs don't have great blood flow. So it's hard to kill them once they're in the air sacs. But I'm finding if I treat them with once every 3 months, the birds that don't have it don't seem to pick up an infection bad enough to get into any kind of real trouble. If you were going to treat your birds for air sac mites for the very first time, you have to do it in conjunction with antibiotics, because a bird that has an air sac mite infestation that has run unchecked will die the minute you treat them for the air sac mites, because all the little mites die in their lungs and then cause an infection. The dead mites' bodies rot inside of their lungs and cause an infection, and it kills the bird. So if you're treating your birds for the very first time, you treat them with air sac mite eliminator once every 6 days for 3 consecutive treatments, and at the same time you treat them with Amtil, which is a broad spectrum. It's actually 2 different antibiotics that covers the entire spectrum and is most recommended for birds. So we're going to spend a few weeks doing that. These guys are in quarantine. Well, they're not in quarantine. They're in sick bay and getting antibiotics. The rest of my crew, which has gotten air sac mite treatment every 3 months for about a year now, don't need the antibiotics. But these guys, for one reason or another, need antibiotics. I'm not really clear what's up with this guy right here. That's Storm. I'm treating him for air sac mites. I'm not sure he's getting better. This little guy down here hung upside down by his band and did bad things to his foot. He's finally healing and probably only has a few more days. As you can see, he's using both of his feet now. And this is Marine, who was showing respiratory infection issues. She's light. She makes noises when she breathes and that kind of thing. So, and then This little girl, those two little girls right there, were both very listless, and both of their mothers have air sac mite issues, so I thought I'd bring them in and give them antibiotics just in case. So Neon was in here, my old parakeet with a tumor, and his tumor started bleeding uncontrollably, so I went ahead and put him down. People say, how do you put them down? This stuff, you can get it online. Trichloroethylene. It does the same thing as chloroform, but it's not as heavily regulated, so you can actually get it online. So you take it, put a cotton ball, soak a cotton ball with it, and put them in a plastic box that's sealed, and just wait for a few minutes, and it gases them, basically. Puts them to sleep, and they never wake up. These guys are cull birds. They're in here because I don't need them anymore. Many of them are retired, so that is Blue, Kelly, and Rainbow down there. Oh, and Lacey are all retired birds, as well as Luscious and Laurel over here, all retired breeders. I got a couple of breedable birds. That would be Mercury, who didn't breed for me last time, but that doesn't really mean anything. This is Skyboy, Saturn, and that guy. I forgot his name. Those are breedable males. They're all young, a year old or less. But I just don't need them anymore. Actually, Saturn is 2 years old, but he's still very breedable. So that's what's happening in here. Okay.